Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
What's up, y'all? It's Keentoh.
Hello.
What's going on, man?
Yo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Well, I'm Keentoh. I'm a hip-hop artist. I'm based out of Vancouver, Washington.
Hell yeah.
Originally from Los Angeles, but I'm right here in Vancouver now.
Cool. I'm from the Bay Area, so
yeah.
Little transplants.
Yeah.
And also, props for being in Vancouver. We love it.
They adopted me, man. They adopted me.
Yeah. And what got you into music initially?
It's a handful of things. Initially, I remember my oldest brother.
Mm-hmm.
He had a homie who made beats.
Okay.
So, and then I would see him write raps, and then, but I originally started writing poetry. So, it's kind of generically speaking, but then I seen him do these rhyme schemes, and I asked him, I was like, hey, can you teach me how to write this?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, didn't go so well,
Yeah.
But that was the original thing. But then as I grew up, my cousins are down in SoCal, they're in the punk scene.
Oh, okay.
So they're kind of they've always been ripping it,
Yeah.
So that's kind of, it was easy to kind of, get the whole spiel from everybody around me, if you will.
Yeah. And were either of your parents musical at all?
No, just music fans,
Okay.
for the most part.
Yeah. So they were fine with you doing it, but they didn't make it themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess as far as what your cousins did, because you said because you're more based in the rap and hip hop scene.
Yeah.
How did you segue through that into still doing what you do?
Well, like I was saying, initially I got into the rap type thing through my brother,
Yeah.
We were, my cousins are in SoCal, and then we were already up here in Washington. I moved up here.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Moved up here when I was 14,
Gotcha, okay.
And that's kind of when I started dabbling with hip hop. And then from there, that's when I started diving into their side of things,
Okay, so you just knew they were doing it, but you were already up here doing your own thing too. Gotcha.
I over here with that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And how, I guess, because there is an interesting segue between those two styles, especially earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
How were they in response to you wanting to do what you were doing?
Oh, as far as who though?
Were your cousins oh, you're doing rap and hip hop? You punk's way cooler, but or were they yo, it's cool that you're doing that?
They've always been on their own thing,
Yeah.
I got other family over there that do hip hop, shouts out A7 and stuff. So
yeah.
he was a big influence on my journey too,
Cool.
I moved down there for a few months, and then I kind of developed a little bit of my artistry.
Gotcha.
With his help type deal.
Okay, cool. So they were super supportive of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into more of what you're doing with music now, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on. And this first one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Well, I grew up with two older brothers, so we didn't really have our own money, so we would get something individually. But I remember it was a Stadium Arcadium, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay.
like 2006, 2007, something like that.
Yeah.
And dude, it was our first hard copy. You know, we were playing that. You know, a little alarm clock CD player type deal.
Yeah.
That was that. And then, but the other one that's hip hop around the same time, I believe, is the Carter 3.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Yeah, those were the ones that pretty sure belong to us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 2 quality albums.
Yeah.
And since every time somebody brings up any of the Carters, I always have to mention the first album I ever bought with my own money was the Carter.
Oh, word?
Yeah, like that was the I was like, my aunt was like buying stuff and I like had it. So I was like, hey, here's like $20 and you want to get this too? And she's like, yeah, sure. So I got past the parental advisory of it all because I for sure shouldn't have been buying that. Yeah. But yeah, that was my first one.
Tight. That's tight, yeah.
And then what was the first live show you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to?
That I wanted to go to recently. I'll give you two answers for that one.
Okay.
That I wanted to go to was recently. I went to a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert like 2 or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. It was at the T-Mobile. At the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And then the first concert I went to, I was invited to, is SoCal OG Macco.
Okay, hell yeah.
That was a wild show.
Hell yeah. Oh, damn. I bet. Did they perform with anybody else?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Fair.
But there was like opening acts and stuff like that. You know? But it was wild, dude. Some cool stories came from that for sure.
Damn, I can only imagine. That was probably wild.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And then before we officially get into you in the present day, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Yeah. So my curiosity, to piggyback off I was saying, I was curious about my brother, doing music. My curiosity kind of led me to music. I was just trying to do it. I could do this or whatever. And I kind of got myself into it. So I just stacked up. I was uploading everything to SoundCloud initially when I was younger, and I stacked up songs. And then I'm buddies with a bunch of friends that are in bands now, South Silver Meadow and Smallfield. They're the ones that kind of reached out to me. They had a house show. I was living with them. So they were hosting a goodbye. They were selling the house. So we're like, we're going to do a show, And then they asked me like, hey, you want to open up my first ever show?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And there was a start. That's kind of what did it. I was like, oh, I'll do it,
Yeah.
Did it.
When was that, just timeline-wise?
Timeline was, I was probably like 7 to 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ish, yeah. Maybe six. Yeah, give or take around there. Yeah. That was and that's I performed, had a good show. It was a great turnout, and that I just realized how from the outside, people, they were like, hey, dude, natural, and I ran with it, I was like, oh, dude, I love this. I love the feeling,
Yeah.
For people,
Oh man, that first show experience is always it's very off. Oh, it's not even in this room anymore. I still have like the flyer from my first show.
Word, yeah.
And like every time I look at it, I'm just like, yeah. Yeah, there's something so special. And it's definitely that moment where like once you do it, you're like, if you love it, that's it. That like you want everything to be that from then there on.
That's exactly what it became, Because now I'm always, when I'm writing music now, I'm always thinking about how am I going to perform it,
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I'm excited to dig into that concept a little bit more, but let's go down into you in the present day. We are going to get a super easy one out of the way first. How'd you pick the name?
Keentoh. Yeah. Well, growing up, I had a weird, I was a dark place, whatever. For some reason, I wanted everything fast, I'm pretty sure I was like around 17, 18 years old. And for some reason, I was like, why aren't good things happening to me, And I just kind of had to slow down, I kind of got into spirituality, yada, yada. And then I kind of started to realize that, there's no timeline to success. There's no timeline to getting to where I want to be type deal,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started embracing Keentoh, which is a direct translation of in Spanish to fifth.
Okay.
And then it's the whole concept is the whole brand is 5 to 5. Keentoh de Cinco, which means 5 to 5. I came in 5th place. But the thing is, I didn't quit. I didn't stop. I got to my finish line, and I'm happy getting to my finish line in 5th place. And then
hell yeah,
it's kind of what it is behind that. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I dig that. That's actually really cool.
Thank you, dude.
I always appreciate when people have like an intention behind, like, don't get me wrong, with the people who are just like, it's a name that fits.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. But the thought behind it, the message behind it feels really cool. And it's definitely, first of all, for being a more abstract word as far as just like the realm of words goes, it's a very easy one to spell. It's an easy one to remember. It's easy to pronounce. It sounds cool. And so to have a cool message behind it, I think really goes a long way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process.
Okay.
And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're starting right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. How do you go about getting a track started?
More so the instrumental kind of speaks to me, kind of like a vibe guy,
Yeah.
Because thing is, if I'm really trying to write a song, I'm never gonna finish. It's gonna take me days,
I got you.
Usually when it hits me, I can sit there, it comes, and it's usually like I'll freestyle the first, like the concept of it, first 2 bars, maybe 4, and then after I got the concept, the topic, it's easy to piggyback off of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just kind of start writing, and it's kind of easier to follow. That's generally how I do it.
Okay.
But I mean, there's a lot of ways,
Yeah, I mean, there's no one definitive approach.
Yeah.
When it comes to like beat selection, do you have like people who send you beats? Do you jump it online? Like, how do you go about curating those?
More recently, I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of producers, Mob Rule, shouts out Mob Rule.
Mob Rule.
All the Rain, shouts out All the Rain. And Colin Cooley, shouts out Colin Cooley.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Generally, I work with them 3, but right now I'm kind of like dialed in with Mob Rule.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's his type of, he's kind of boom bap,
Yeah.
At all, but that's kind of like his niche right now.
Yeah, he's got a good sound.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
and it speaks to me. So that's kind of, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Me and Mob Rule just go back and forth, go back and forth. Oh, I got a beat pack. All right, let's go. Boom, boom, boom. And that's kind of where we're at now. Yeah.
Well, that and for like, he's close by. I assume you're not too far from him.
Not at all.
Or like here. So like, it's cool to have somebody who's in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? Somewhere where you can just be like, hey, I got this idea. Let me drive over. Because sometimes through the internet just doesn't have as much of that appeal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not that there's anything wrong with it, but like if you can actually like be in the room with the person when they're like cooking or you're cooking, it's a whole different meal.
Synergy, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's easier to craft,
Exactly.
Ideas right off the bat.
Yeah. And then you said that you freestyle the first couple of lines, then you go from there. Are you like pen to paper? Do you put it in your phone? How do you go about putting the words together from there?
I started doing everything just I always do drafts. I do my drafts before I record, and I use Logic, so it's got their little journal thing or whatever. So I started doing that. I had a really bad habit of like freestyling everything for the most part. But the thing is, it made my songwriting process very long.
Yeah.
I would remember it before I record more, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I would remember it, and it just wasn't convenient. So I started writing stuff down.
Okay.
I just I'd be doing typing, yeah.
Oh, cool. So you actually like, do you do like actual keyboard typing then?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's the probably the less commonly mentioned of the 3 approaches.
Oh yeah, that's what I do.
That's really interesting. I dig that.
Yeah.
And then once you get a track finished writing, so it doesn't have to be like recorded and released per se, but once you gotten it to where you're ready to start learning it, you're ready to start getting it out there, how long does it usually take you to feel comfortable enough to perform a track?
See, so that's kind of nice. That's a good question. I'm looking forward to answering this because, dude, I don't have much music out, and but I have a gang of music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I have a gang of music, and like I was telling you earlier, how I just fell in love with performing.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why I started writing more songs. I wanted to perform them. It doesn't take much,
Yeah.
I'll write them if I feel it. I'll get comfortable with them, and the more I recite them, the more comfortable I get.
Yeah.
But generally, I perform everything that I write before it's out. And even to today, I just don't release much music. I like being out there. I like being in live in people's faces.
Yeah.
That's my thing,
No, I dig that. Just to kind of like corner back in more on the question itself though, how long does it usually take you to feel comfortable enough to perform a track?
Not very long, If I really like the song, I'll make an effort, It takes effort, It's not just like, comes naturally.
It's not like you wrote it that day, you go perform it.
Yeah. So like, let's say I write a song Monday and I got a show Saturday, I could probably be prepped if I really want to perform it. I'll probably be able to perform it that Saturday type deal,
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
so you can do it quickly, you just give it the time.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I dig that. And actually, because of something you said earlier, it segues well into this next bit, because you said you don't have a ton of music out there. And, I jumped on ye old Spotify and I went and checked it out. And you've got music going back to 2021. Like, it's not like late back there, but it's not, this year only. And you've got a fair amount. You've had pretty steady releases there. And the one thing I did notice is, first of all, from the get, like every single track is tight.
It's locked in. It sounds good. Your beat selection is solid.
Thank you.
But also, you switch things up as you go along. Like sometimes it's more straightforward. Sometimes it's more melodic. Sometimes it's in English. Sometimes it's in Spanish. But it's always solid. Like you have nothing but hits available right now. And I think that just goes towards your intention. But one thing I did notice is that you aren't very feature heavy. You don't have a lot of other people in your stuff that's out. And we're not going to dig into it a ton. I do know you have an upcoming album with Mob Rule named Explosive with Desire. And
Explosive with Disorder.
Oh, my autocorrect did me dirty.
You're good, man. You're good. You're good.
Explosive with Disorder.
Yeah.
And it comes out November 15th for those of you watching now. And it's a full collaborative album with Mob Rule, which I'm super excited about. I think it's going to be real cool having a body of work that you've been working on. But as much as I want to ask a bunch of questions, we're going to be doing a tuned in episode in a few weeks from when this comes out. So I'm going to save them all for there. But I want to jump to the next question I usually have. Out of all the tracks you have available right now, so excluding any of the ones coming out on that, but of everything you have available right now that people could listen to, what would you say is your favorite track of those to perform?
So I got a cult classic, if you will. It's, These Feelings. That one with my supporters and stuff, the people that rock with me, that one stuck. And I love performing it because I can hear it back, you know? That one's probably my favorite for that aspect. But as far as me having fun, it's got to be Scarface.
Okay.
I love that song.
See, if you didn't say it, I was going to bring that up too. Because that is definitely a jam. Big,
I love it.
Hell yeah. And then just because in this point in time, I usually do ask about some of the newer music, I will throw it in there. What can we kind of look forward to for the new album coming out?
Well, if you guys are familiar with Mob Rule, so it's very boom bap heavy. And just to kind of, long story short, it's more of a dive into who I am, what matters to me, a little reflection of who I am, you know, and what makes me. And that's kind of what that project is going to be. And can you refresh my memory again?
Yeah, no, I mean that answered it pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away too much now because we're going to do a whole episode where we're going to break down a bunch of the tracks and do it all then. So y'all will definitely need to tune back for that one. But I just kind of wanted to give them a little taste of what they could look forward to for that one. Also, if you don't want to check out Mob Rule's episode, if I remember, I will have put it right here so you know which one to go check out. But getting back into it, let's zoom out. Let's talk about kind of music as a whole. What are some of the things about either new music in general, if you're one of those people that stays current, or at the very least, music that's new to you, that you're experiencing right now, that's inspiring you?
It's probably have to be older because I have a bad habit of diving into just what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of close out everybody, and then I got to get more familiar with the scene and new music in general.
Well, like I said, it doesn't have to be current stuff per se, but like just what are you taking in right now and what are you enjoying about it?
Right now, it's probably like Earth Gang.
Oh, hell yeah.
Gang, yeah. I like their creativity, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, if you've heard some of my music, I'm very heavy in flow transitions. And that's kind of like similar vibes to what they do.
Yeah.
Not the same sound, but similar blueprint, if you will. You know what I mean?
I can 100% see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. And that's a cool, they're one of those weird groups where like everybody knows them.
Yeah.
Everybody is aware of them. They just don't happen in conversation a lot. I think they're just making all the right moves in the right places and people just kind of like a Costa Contra.
Oh, Coast Contra.
Yeah. They're in the same boat where like, their stuff is all fire.
Yeah.
Everything they do is phenomenal.
Amazing, man.
But just like they just don't come up very often. It's like either you know about them and you're good with them or you're not trying to like put people onto them.
Yeah.
But Earth Gang is a super solid one to be taken in any time.
Yeah.
And then before we move into the next part, this next question I have is probably the densest question in the interview. But we talked a lot about, you know, your experiences with music, your actions, your reactions. But when it's just you and the music, one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
I got to preface this with a little story. It's kind of, for starters, gives me a release, right? It gives me a way to express myself. And music kind of taught me how to be open in conversation in general. You know, kind of be like, I got more myself. with that being said, it was a conversation when I first met Mob Rule. I was creating music for the fun of it. I was creating because like I said, I was curious about it. Oh, this is flow, the upbeatness, or whatever the case may be, you know?
Yeah, the love of the process.
Yeah. He kind of started, like, we started dabbling in kind of like just whatever issues we had going, you know? And he asked me a question. He's like, hey, do you like write about your experiences? Funny, because most people, right? That's kind of like the generic, or that's kind of like the standalone for music. Like, everybody's got their experiences or story to tell. But I really didn't. That kind of just triggered that thought. I was like, I haven't been doing that. I haven't been tapping into kind of who I am with it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of lately has been giving me a way to kind of express everything that I'm feeling. And it's easier to do it through music.
Yeah.
And also when we first started dabbling with that like 3-4 years ago, it helped me figure out what I got to offer and who I am to an extent, you know? Like the missing parts that I didn't know about myself already.
Yeah.
Deal, you know? Because I guess I was looking into like a microscope, if you will. I was looking deeper into myself.
It was giving you like an opportunity to kind of self-reflect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though you were releasing it, you weren't letting go of it. You were getting to view it and really kind of find more of like you said, who you are within it.
Yeah.
Damn. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You know, I can't remember who said it. It was one of the Ronald Record episodes, which shout out Ronald Record.
Shout out Ronald Record.
I don't know how we haven't named them, name dropped them yet, because that's, I believe, what the record is releasing.
Yeah. Shout out Ronald Record.
Yeah. But there was somebody who said that for them, music is their therapy, but not in the way that everybody normally says, because that's a pretty recurring answer. They said it so in the sense that like music lets them get themselves out and it listens to them without judgment. Because that's usually how a therapist works, is they sit there and you can do no wrong in their eyes. They're there to hear it and then help you understand what it means for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what it sounds like was kind of happening for you as well, is that music kind of gave you this opportunity to experience a way to look at yourself more.
Definitely.
And that's really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course, dude. Thanks for letting me do this.
Yeah. But that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Word.
And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one's pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Musically speaking?
Technically, it doesn't have to be. Somebody else has asked me that question before. It can technically be anybody.
Okay. They have to be alive. Corbin, aka Spooky Black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Those melodies he's got going, his voice.
Yeah.
Rock with it heavy. I can't do what he does, but I admire what he does, you know? I feel like that'd be sick. Like a hook, get him in a hook in the bridge and go in the verse right there. That'd be pretty fire.
Dude, I mean, hypothetical situation. You guys could do a whole album together.
Facts, actually.
Yeah, that would be dope.
The song, huh?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Good question. There's a homie that my rule just put me on, and I was checking him out earlier in the week. It was by Bars, I believe.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He has an episode. Shout out, Bars.
Word, okay.
Yeah.
Shout out Bars, yeah. And he's kind of dope. Yeah.
He's up in I think Tacoma. Well, not Tacoma. He's like an hour-ish north. He's a Washington cat.
Yeah.
Dude is super good.
Yeah.
Big fan. He's got some quality stuff out.
As soon as I heard some of his stuff, I was like, "Nah, this is fun."
Yeah. And this is a little known fun fact. He was I did his episode during like the big snow that we had last year, and I think I had like 7 interviews booked for that week, or maybe more than that. I think it might have been like 9.
Yeah.
All of them but him canceled.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like respectfully, like that. I didn't want anybody to be, but he was just like, "Nah, man, I'm good. I'm gonna make it."
Go get her.
He pulls up in a Tacoma and he's just like, "Hey, I'm here. Let's do it."
Yeah, that's fire.
So he's that episode always have a little special spot in my heart.
Oh, yeah.
But we're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about you. But everybody, at him in the comments. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, You wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power. It was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. And it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
Damn, bro. This one's got some sentiment. So for some reason, my middle school years were very prominent for who I am, nostalgic. So for some odd reason, I go back to Harupa Middle.
Okay.
School.
Yeah. Damn, that's a cool answer, actually.
And just have all the people out there, that rock with me.
Yeah.
I got a lot of people over there. That'll be fire.
I dig that a lot. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, are most of your, the teachers you had still there?
I don't know.
Damn.
To be honest,
that would be a cool one to find out. Also, that is not an impossible goal. I don't know if you know this, but schools are actually usually pretty accessible for events and coordinated things. You may have to censor your stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, middle school. But I'm sure if you were like, hey, I'm an alumni.
Yeah.
I want to come back and put on and inspire a new generation because this place mattered to me. They would probably be more open to the concept than you think.
Imagine that, dude.
Yeah.
That'll be sweet as hell.
Hell yeah. All right, but that's here for later. Definitely, if you end up doing that, let me know.
Oh yeah.
We will come with you to that.
That'll be sweet, dude.
But to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
Instantly came to my head. King Capital Steez, bro.
Okay.
Capital Steez, man. That guy was ahead of his time at the time. He's very activist type deal, He was kind of being exposing, if you will. That's kind of the hip hop I was listening to when I first started getting into hip hop too. So easy, hands down, Capital Steez. Yeah.
No, super solid answer.
Yeah.
All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. We already kind of touched on it, but it's the normal part of the question. What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and April?
The album, Explosive with Disorder, is coming at you through Ronald Records. Shouts Mob Rule. He produced every beat on that. We got the release show November 15th, the same day of the release. So we got some dope artists on there. And we're just going to content, We got a good team going right now. So we're just kind of riding the wave. So that's what we got.
Hell yeah. And I don't know when your tuned in episode is going to happen, so I can't say it on here, but definitely y'all are going to want to tune in for that one. It's going to be amazing. Big fan. Super excited for that. And then for this next one, go ahead and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Keentoh, Keentoh. You can find me. I'm heavily on the Instagram, if you will. And then you kind of piggyback from there. You can find me anywhere. I'm on SoundCloud, streaming services. But Keentoh at anywhere. And at Ronald Records, actually. They have a link for my stuff too, boy.
Hell yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Shout outs to team, Ronald Records. Shout outs Small Rule. Shout outs All the Rain. Shout outs Colin Cooley. Shout outs everybody that's been part of the journey, Shout outs my fam, the support system. All y'all are the reason, So, yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, with that being said, we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Of course.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
I'll go off of what I said earlier with Corbin, Mourn. That's a good album.
Yeah.
That's a fire album.
Hell yeah.
I would suggest it to anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a quality choice.
Yeah.
All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, dude.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jam Box. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Keentoh.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.